Ready? So we were working with a customer in the financial services industry, and this customer had some very important concerns, very important things that needed to happen for their business, for which we were able to help them out with this model that we're going to be discussing. The first of those major concerns was an understanding of the costs of doing business, right, of their IT environment. And being financial services, obviously IT is a large cost component for them. All of their workers are knowledge workers, so they all have IT processes, and so IT financial management around that was extremely important. Secondly, this organization, because of the nature of the business they do, they're very critical and central to the functioning of markets here in the US. Because of the nature of that, they're very concerned with the risks associated with their IT infrastructure. So what were the things they were trying to capture and that they were concerned about? For IT financial management, they obviously were very concerned about cost of ownership of their IT assets. They really wanted to understand what were the costs of the items that made up their IT infrastructure, but they also wanted to understand how did those costs compound when they went and built out of them business services. So they wanted to understand cost of the services that they offered, both internal to their business and external to the customers that they worked with. So trying to put those pieces together then would lead them to an understanding for the services that they offer to their customers, what services were most profitable, what places did they have success in selling those services. So really it was the whole package of what did their productive resources, their financial resources, assets and stuff, really cost them, and how could they drive profitability around that. Secondly, with regard to risk management, they were very interested in understanding which of their IT assets were vulnerable. Where did those vulnerabilities lie? And secondly, given that they're vulnerable, what would the IT impact be if they were to lose a critical asset? So could they tell which of these business services that they were tracking would be impacted if a particular asset became unavailable or didn't work in the business? So these are the challenges that they set us, and we took these and moved forward with that and helped them build a model to really drive out information about these two major challenges that they were facing. The first place we started was their, if you will, front door. And for them, their front door really lived in their project management office. And what they were capturing here was the demand for their IT environment to be able to build out new services, new business contracts. So what was the incoming demand associated with that? Secondly, they were tracking what resources were available to slot against that demand, and then making business decisions about the go-forward nature of what it was they were going to be tackling, what projects they were going to be tackling, what items they were going to be doing next. So this was, if you will, the front door to their business process. Obviously also in their environment was the concept that they had existing items that needed to be managed through an IT service management environment. And this is extremely important for understanding outages, right? So what incidents were occurring, and what changes were they planning against the items that already existed in their business, and lastly, what requests were being generated, right? So we might have project requests that are going to come from this side, but on this side we're going to have just kind of standard everyday requests for spare parts, for items to repair incidents or to work with changes, new hire requests, all of those kind of things, tracked and managed here. In the kind of main database that stored all the information around these pieces, we found and we helped them build out a configuration management database. Their CMDB was the key to all things installed, all the things that were running in their business, supporting the services, supporting the changes that were being made against them. All the items that were up, running, and servicing the business lived here in their CMDB. But as important, they also had the relationships between those items. So we helped them with discovering that information about how the items that existed in their CMDB came together to form the business services that they were tracking in IT financial management, and to help them understand what were the critical pieces of infrastructure in the CMDB that was able to help them inform where are my vulnerabilities. If this central asset fails, I'm going to impact a lot of business services versus some edge asset that might just impact a given business service. The piece that really tied all of this together and made this a functional working system was their IT asset management system. And we helped them build this out. And in their IT asset management system, in addition to all the things that the CMDB was providing, information about what's out there and actually running, IT asset management also had a link to their procurement system. So as this system, their project and portfolio management system, was the front door for demand for new projects, their asset management system was the front door for items that were coming into the business. It also contained information about spares. So as we go to find a bunch of, say, new servers to host a particular project we've selected, we'll build a change management structure against that, but some of those items we've already got. So obviously major cost reduction if I can take items that already exist and put them in place here in IT asset management. Lastly, all of the costs that were generated across this map, the labor costs that were generated from project and portfolio management, the services costs from IT service management, the cost of running items and the way they're configured was fed in to help understand the total cost of a business service. All of these pieces centralized the cost data here in the IT asset management system and gave us the ability to drive financial management. Lastly, asset management was the final repository because it had information about our software environment, which was another benefit to it. They were able to do software asset management. From our software environment, our CMDB, the cost of service and the planned costs and real labor costs of projects were gathered here in the IT asset management space, and that enabled us to provide for this customer this IT risk management map. So this was the architecture that we put together to capture that information, to meet both the IT financial management demand that the customer was interested in, understanding total cost of ownership for the items in their business, and the cost of services once we put those items together according to the relationships that the CMDB was able to provide, capturing that data in an asset management platform that was related to the new projects and new project demand that were being created, between new project demand and the functional systems where service management was sending in cost of incidents, cost of changes and failed changes, cost of new requests. We were able to capture both total cost of ownership, labor cost, asset cost, and total risk of the environment for in-use items and items that are planned to be in use to build out an IT risk map for our customers. So they knew where their vulnerabilities were and how, if they had an incident against one of those vulnerable items, that would cascade throughout their business.